Hello, everybody. My name is Nikhil Vimal, and today I am doing the second episode of our interview series about bots, startups, growth, marketing, a lot of cool things. And today I have a special guest, Seth, the creator of BotList, a bot influencer who is really, really early to the game, actually, in the whole bot scene, and someone super interesting to talk to about sort of the history of it. And today we're going to talk about his projects, what he's done, what he's learned, and hopefully they'll offer a lot of value. So, Seth, thank you very much for joining today. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I love talking about bots. Clearly, clearly you said that I've been around for a while, and I have 2016. So it's been a long time.
I'm just remembering that too. Seeing BotList being so early to the whole hype train as well, but also sticking around. So that's really awesome. So but we'll start. We'll go to that. That'll be our first question then. So what is sort of your background and what got you into bots specifically?
Sure. Back in, I think around January 1st or 3rd or whatever, of 2016, a couple of friends, I guess, reached out and they wanted to work on a project. We knew bots were going to be a big thing. We knew Facebook was coming out with bots. So we just kind of decided to, create a directory for bots. And that was BotList. So, we decided to build out this website directory. When I say we, I'm sorry, Ben Tossel, Mubashir Iqbal, and I, we decided to build this directory out and launch it before F8.
Nice. What sort of led you to even, were you interested in bots sort of even before you got into that, or was that sort of an off chance work project thing, just out of curiosity?
No, actually, a lot of people don't know this, but I worked in a game studio, video game studio, for about 4 years, 2012 to 2016.
Nice.
And actually with Mubs was the number 3 employee of that place. I was the number 2, and we actually they sold it to PUBG this year. But long story short, we always wanted to build this software that we could charge recurring revenue, and we built an early competitor to Slack long time ago. But it was basically run by bots. So you would have a calendar bot, you would have document bots and things like that would actually be interjected into the conversation. So that was the earliest form of automation that I kind of was dealing with.
That's pretty wild. Definitely a unique story when we think of people who were interested in bots and automation and who got into it. Most people got into it through the hype train and stuff like that. But, hearing that you literally worked on a full project even before all of that was built around bots is super cool. So to follow that question, I mean, this is something that's super interesting to me, but early 2016, BotList was going to be a thing. And did you feel confident that bots were going to be this huge shift that they ended up being? Did you foresee that coming, that everything that followed that year and years to follow?
Yeah, I mean, I think I still do, clearly, because I still run it.
Right.
The other guys aren't on the project anymore. It's literally just me. So clearly I have a vision for the future. I believe that bots will be an asset to everybody's life, to where we can focus on different things. There's so many tedious tasks that we have to handle with marketing, social media marketing, all this stuff, right, as entrepreneurs. And automation, if you can, automation, which are bots, right, then you can do different things that actually you can spend your mind power on. And so, I fully believe in bots, and I think bots are still going to be the future. It's just going to take, the rest of society to, take a while to catch up.
100%. And I think that's with a lot of emerging technology as well. But, it's really cool to hear, from someone who's been in it for a while. Always cool to hear something always good to hear something like that. So in terms of BotList as sort of, I want to talk a little bit about, so BotList is 100% bootstrapped, right? I was going to put
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. So would you say, was that something that you were doing full time then when you started it, or are you still doing it, or just out of
No, I mean, has it always been 100% bootstrapped? Yes.
Okay,
It's always been 100% bootstrapped. We launched it the day before F8, so I think it was like day one. We had 100,000 visitors.
Crazy.
When we launched it on Product Hunt, which Product Hunt's amazing. But yeah, I mean, it's fully automated and fully bootstrapped, which is people don't really realize that it's fully automated as well.
Right. And can you share a little bit about what the monetization process was for something like a directory? Coming up with a business plan and the decision to make money off of it, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, communities are really hard to like create any sort of revenue.
Sure. Certainly.
At first we've had to change our business model quite a bit. I actually closed it down to being a members only about maybe a year ago, just because we already had enough Google traffic. We get about 300,000 page views a month, and before I used to manually like moderate everything.
Sure.
So I would go through every bot, I would test every bot, and it just became way too strenuous on my daily routine. So
sure.
I fully automated it, and I forgot what the question was.
No, I think you got the question though. I guess let me see if I can extend that a little bit. So is it, I can't remember, is the information about how much you make with BotList public or not? Just out of curiosity.
I think it's on Indie Hackers. I don't really, I'm not sure what it's at right now.
Okay.
I mean, you can look it up. I've been focused on other projects at this time, but I think we might be like 3,000 monthly recurring or something. So it's not a lot, but it's enough to keep the doors open, and the lights on.
Yeah.
Obviously, what I've been trying to do in my spare time is to try to get more people on and see the value, because the value is there. Like, that's why we're on this conversation, and maybe that's where you go into why we're having this conversation, because your partners here saw the value firsthand.
Yeah, absolutely. No, definitely. And to talk a little bit about the bootstrappers experience, that you've had. What are some of the biggest, maybe like lessons? I mean, honestly, a couple of things here, a couple of questions here. So first question is, what has been like the coolest moment you'd say with BotList, other than launching before F8? And then the second thing is, if one of those incidents happened to be also teaching you the biggest lessons or something about bootstrapping, you can go into that as well. But those are sort of the two kind of questions there. What is the biggest eye opener? What is the biggest lesson?
Biggest moments in BotList history, I would say, were obviously, like you said, F8, because we, everybody was talking about how chatbots were going to be the next best thing, and people were looking for a place where they could find these bots, but obviously Facebook didn't have anything out. So we were on TechCrunch, we were on Engadget, we were on Digital Trends, we were on pretty much everything. So that was like one of the coolest part. The second like really eye-opening thing is that a lot of people use BotList that I just don't like. I don't hear their stories all the time.
Sure.
Somebody came to me the other day and they said that they were getting more traffic on BotList than they were getting on Facebook's Discover tab on their Messenger app. Yeah. And that to me is mind-blowing. And not only that, but some reporters, I think it was in the UK, they found this fitness bot on BotList. So that was really cool. To your other question about some lessons learned, I would say, figuring out potential business model, and coming to like quicker decisions, I think is something that, when you're bootstrapping, and especially solo bootstrapping, you really should develop that skill of coming to a quick decision, and not, having really any remorse about making that decision afterwards as well.
Yeah, no, that's a really good answer. And I think that, Not just for bootstrapping though, right? That can be taught for anybody really running a business. But of course, everyone learns it in different ways. So, it's kind of cool to hear that perspective as well. And, one thing that I think is pretty complicated with bootstrapping anything in general, especially something like a community, is, so what was the process of getting, like the first customers, beta testers, early evangelists? What was that sort of like for something like BotList, especially since it was sort of before even F8 happened and stuff like that? What was the process of getting people to believe in bots and BotList in that regard as well?
I think our first customers were really bot makers. So it was a little bit easier for us. Sure. We've had, I think it was some people from like HubSpot have been, backing us since the very beginning.
Wow.
A lot of our early revenue too was advertising on the site. So I think Amazon just finished like a 3-month advertisement on BotList, which is, if you think about it, it's the number one company in the world, well, close to it, right?
Right.
And they're advertising on BotList for the bot domains.
Crazy. Yeah, absolutely.
So to me, I'm just like, okay, well, that's cool. But yeah, anyways, I think that's, for bootstrapping, it's really figuring out where that money's coming from. But yeah.
It's a good answer. Yeah, absolutely. And to even follow that sort of path, now we'll go down like the rabbit hole of really elements of bootstrapping, not necessarily just a bot company or something like that. But, what was sort of the biggest, so you were marketing on a budget, obviously, right? Like that, you didn't have this big venture backed opportunity to do crazy marketing campaigns and whatever. So what would you say were some of your big methods of advertising and even taking away to getting it to, 300,000, people a month?
Yeah, actually, we don't really do any marketing at all.
Wow.
So it's really all organic. But one part of the marketing that I know I just said we don't do any marketing, but there were times where we would write articles and then we would put them on like Q. We would promote them with Q.
Sure.
And if anybody's ever heard of Q, or if you've been living under a rock, that's literally how I use social media to bring awareness to my projects. I fully automate all of my social media, my Twitter accounts, all that stuff. Everything's automated through the site. So basically, if somebody posts a discussion in the community, that gets sent out automatically. If somebody posts a bot, that gets sent out automatically on social. So, to answer your question, we try to automate as much as we can through different tactics and tools. Mubs actually and I built this tool that he's actually rebuilding it tomorrow at a hackathon, but it's like it tracks your content catalog and sees if you're idle on Twitter, and then it'll just take a piece out of your catalog and just tweet it.
Oh yeah.
So it's really automating your marketing is pretty cool, and it helps solo entrepreneurs or anybody that's bootstrapping as well.
Right. So, to ask a little bit further there, you didn't have to really build a lot of automation yourself, right? You were just able to use a lot of tools online to do stuff like that.
Well, I mean, we like to build stuff.
Sure.
So we built that tool, the idle tool. Q, I helped early on in some of the early designs, and I know Daniel Kemp and Matthew.
Yeah.
And Mubs helped co-found that as well. So a lot of the tools that we do use, we actually did kind of have some part in building.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really want to pay for because we're bootstrapped, right? So
of course.
If I can not pay for it and I can automate it and build something and take a little bit of time to do it, it's kind of worth it in the sense. But there are different times where I might need to hire somebody to maybe write an article or something. So money does actually come and go.
Sure.
When you're early startup, but and thank God for crypto, because that's what helped fund BotList.
But there you go. That's sort of that's not an answer you hear a lot, right? Most people would just say you use Facebook ads, do this crazy campaign thing, right? Do growth hacking. but for a director, obviously it's a little bit different, I can imagine, as well, in terms of getting people to stick around and stuff like that. So it's certainly a cool thing, obviously a unique thing to hear that you were even part of a lot of these projects right at the end of the day. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And I want to also ask about like your involvement in communities. So you've mentioned, you've name dropped indie hackers, but where else have you had a lot of success in getting feedback, sharing the idea around, or maybe even talk a little bit about your experience on indie hackers?
I think there's, as a maker, you only have so much time in the day.
Of course.
So really finding good time to be in those communities and provide valuable feedback or engagement is very, very necessary if you're early on in your career. I've, been in all of these communities for so long that I can just come and go and
sure,
whatever. But I would say Indie Hackers has been an amazing, amazing tool for me. And that's a great place where I get feedback. Product Hunt has changed my career. Before Product Hunt, I was literally just a creative director and designing, Batman websites and different stuff for Warner Bros. Game industry. Mubs actually turned me on to Product Hunt, and that really changed me and drove me to be the creative entrepreneur that I am now. Sure. So Product Hunt, Indie Hackers, Mark. Oh my God, I can't pronounce his last name, or I can't remember it. It's called WIP Chat.
Yep,
that's been amazing. So yeah, I mean, there's only a little handful that I kind of am a part of. Dribble as well, but it's important to not only just be lurking in the shadows, but to be engaging in those communities. And that's really what sets you apart from anything.
Yeah. Could you speak a little bit even to that, for maybe the solo founders or bootstrappers who are listening, what is some ways that you engage so that you can get the feedback that you want and the ideas,
Well, pull a page from Gary V's tactics and jab, 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 right hook, right?
Yeah.
So it's always give, right? I mean, this about me. We've talked many times. You've asked me for advice. I don't usually shy away from, somebody needing advice. So, I mean, I think that the main thing anybody can do is really just participate in communities. And then when you really need it, then ask for a favor of getting some feedback. Once you're engaging and you're an awesome member of that community, people will do anything they can to help you.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great answer. And name dropping Gary Vee there and stuff like that, and all these great communities. Also, want to talk about like specific people who you would say maybe in the bot space, maybe not necessarily, but who are some of your biggest influences, maybe to take the jump, right, to change your career a little bit and do something like BotList and your other projects as well.
I mean, I think those influences or mentors always change, right?
Sure, certainly.
So Mubs brought me out and showed me what the entrepreneur and startup ecosystem looked like.
Sure.
So he was a huge inspiration and mentor for me, and we talk almost daily now still. But then you go from that end of the spectrum to he's the number one maker on Product Hunt to like somebody like Grant Cardone, who's into real estate, and he's a big influence, and he's in the money sector as well. So he's also somebody that I look up to, and I like to be on a broad spectrum because I don't want to be pigeonholed. Sure. I want to have many different outlooks on business as I can. So I try to go into that side of things. So Mubs, Gary V, maybe Grant Cardone. Yeah.
No, those are great, great names to drop anyways, though, that I think a lot of people, I think Grant Cardone, I know of him, but I don't know that a lot of maybe some of the startup-y maker community possibly doesn't know about him. So it's a good as well. And Mubs is great.
Well, I mean,
Mubs,
when you're creating products too, like SaaS products, this past year, the only thing I tried focusing on was sales and how to be a better salesperson, because I know, like, for example, I know BotList is super valuable to people, but I'm not expressing it and I'm not marketing it the proper way that people will see. We're getting anywhere from 300 to 350,000 page views a month.
Right.
People don't see that. And I'm like, just just put your bot on BotList and you'll get traffic. It's kind of a no-brainer. Like, I want to say that, but somebody, when I look up to like Grant Cardone, he's excellent at sales. He knows how to sell something.
Oh yeah. Really
or even like Russell Brunson, right? He knows how to sell something. So I'm taking different aspects of each of these mentors, and even like Mubs, right? He knows how to scale products to a massive amount. I mean, he worked on some projects that I can't talk about because we're probably still under NDA. But they were getting 90 million monthly hits. 90 million people hitting their website a month. So you got to take different aspects of each mentor and put them into your business or what your career, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, that's awesome and super inspiring, frankly. But it's good validation for a lot of people to think about, changing up who they follow and taking from a lot of different places rather than just sort of focusing, no matter the niche, right? So that's really good. I want to talk a little bit about the bot ecosystem, going back to like specifically the world of bots though now. What do you think has been, I want to know a little bit about your perspective and your opinion on sort of this huge hype cycle that happened, right? So one question is, what are some interesting changes you've seen? Where do you think we are now? And what do you think it'll look like over time?
Well, I think everybody, the interesting bits about it is that, like people like ChatFuel, companies like ChatFuel or ManyChat would create these awesome ways to build bots very easily.
Yeah.
And then, so everybody was building bots, which is great to figure out what is good and what is bad, I guess. Yeah. But, when at the end of the day, you're trying to solve a problem, and make a business out of it.
Yep.
Because if there's no inbound revenue, then you don't have anything. You're just wasting time.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, some people want to build bots that don't, accept any sort of revenue, but it's going to fail at the end of the day because you need to for starters or need to thing. But so I think, the hype cycle was really cool. It was getting people out testing different tactics and stuff. It declined quite a bit, but I think we're at that point where we are understanding that bots are actually more about, if you're using it for marketing, you want them to be more campaign based, right? Instead of like like a Nike bot wouldn't want to tell a joke. I think that's kind of ludicrous and ridiculous.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to build the bot to respond to somebody that says, "Tell me a joke." So it's still, at that point where, people are still trying to figure out how to interact with them as well.
Sure.
So, but there's a very hopeful future.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, as technology grows too, with like artificial intelligence or machine learning and stuff like that, we can kind of have these basic interactions or responses, I guess you could say, if somebody does communicate with a bot that way. But at the end of the day, it's really about campaigns and, for Facebook anyways. There's many different bots out there, bot platforms as well. So
Sure. And so I want you to elaborate, if you can, a little bit more, as someone who's been here since literally the beginning, right? Since that first major F8 in the bot stuff, what do you see? What's the big next step? Where do you see them next year, in a couple of years? What's it going to look like over time?
I think people are going to start building different ways to pull their data out of the major platforms this year with, I'm not going to get into politics here, but, Facebook does shut down different pages for various reasons. And if you build a bot that has, let's say 100,000 active subscribers to it, and they shut down your page, you have no way of getting that information. You literally build that audience up and it's gone. Same with like YouTube and all the other censorship. I'm not getting into it, but I definitely think there's going to be ways where people are going to build alternatives to be out of these major platforms. And voice is coming up with Alexa's doing really well. They're selling a lot. Alexa skills are being helpful, but until we get to the point where we have our own Jarvis, like in Iron Man,
right.
I don't think, people are just going to ask for weather updates and stuff like that. So
Sure. And yeah, I mean, that's always a hard answer, the emerging technology, because it can change on a whim. And, one thing I guess is interesting, I want to hear your thoughts on, but like, some people will say that, Slack and Facebook have sort of plateaued in their interest of, making bots sort of like they allow it, they're there, but the hype around it isn't as big as it used to be perhaps. So what do you think about the future of like the channels that bots can grow on, just out of curiosity?
Well, I think Facebook is definitely not just being on their heels. I think they're definitely pushing forward with the bot, because the thing is with Facebook, they want to make revenue just like anybody else.
Right.
And businesses on Facebook that's a huge part of Facebook.
True.
So if you can have a Facebook bot that is tied to your business page and it's bringing in digital, like basically you're doing like a digital checkout or, basically checking out via Facebook, it's going to be huge and powerful, especially if like crypto gets into this. So, so if for example, Facebook creates their own blockchain ecosystem and they have their own payment system.
Right.
And you want to buy a watch on Facebook, they're not going to not give you the tools to do that. They want the money flowing through their platform.
Yeah, for sure. I like that answer. I like that. It's about thinking about other ecosystems that could rise and put pressure, right? So that's a really cool angle to think about it. And also, I just thought of a really cool question, or like a good question about bootstrapping. So I'm going to take it back to that for a second. What are some other products, frankly, that you want to name drop that have inspired you in design, in concept, in marketing, and in a whole process? Because you mentioned some great names of people, but I want to hear some actual maybe other products out there as well that people can look at and be really inspired by.
I think Peter Levels does an amazing job with Nomad List. He's somebody I've always looked up to for like community, basically like having this really close community. So that's something we've been always striving for BotList, is like trying to create this like niche community. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat here.
Yeah, no, you're all good, man. You're all good.
So with, he's been fully bootstrapped.
Yeah.
Corlin Allen with Indie Hackers, they were fully bootstrapped. I think there's so many out there that, because we have the tools now, excuse me, we have the tools now to fully bootstrap and compete with some of these larger platforms.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, but yeah, perfect. Thanks so much for joining today. Thanks for answering all of these questions. It's really good to sort of, I try to work in both, the bot angle and the bootstrapping angle and all of that, because I think that's just a unique story. You have a really unique background and story and getting in on all of this. And I've known you for a little bit now. So I was trying to sort of, cater them get a really cool answer. And you did really, that was really good, man. So, where can people find you, man? Let's just close it out.
I'm on Twitter everywhere, or Twitter. I'm on the internet everywhere. I'm literally the only Seth Louey around. So it's SETHLOUEY.
There we go. And what can we look forward to from you in the future? Got anything cool that you want to share about?
Do a 4-hour startup hackathon tomorrow. So we'll see what happens there. But definitely, I'm still going to be in the bot space. I love bots. I'm going to continue to push BotList and ChatMod, really.
Yeah. So thanks everyone for joining in today with me and Seth. This is a really great conversation about everything. And stay tuned for our next podcast. Thanks for everyone, or interview. Thanks for everyone for joining in. Thanks for joining, Seth.
Thanks.